Hello. Today I'm going to talk about a film that came out late last year called The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Mark Carr, Emily Blunt as Dawn, his girlfriend, uh, Dawn Staples, uh, Ryan Bader as Mark Coleman, and Baz Rutten as himself. Uh, this is about UFC fighting. Mark Carr was a UFC fighter. I'm not very knowledgeable on UFC, so uh, I've heard some stuff about this movie. Obviously, around the time this was coming out, and of course after it was out, people talking about this and everything, and usually it's people who know about it, UFC, and I'm like, I don't know anything about that. I mean, I know of the sport, it's like combining like mixed martial arts and boxing and wrestling and all this into one. Um, Overall, I thought the film was pretty good. Dwayne Johnson's performance is excellent. It's a fairly intense film, not just from the fighting, but with the relationship between Mark and Dawn. And early on, we see he's addicted to opioids, like medication. We see him at the doctor's office, and he's looking at his various vials and stuff that they inject him with. And then later at home, he has some stuff that he injects himself with. Getting high, and yeah, it's quite something to watch unfold. So he has his own obviously issues, and it's a very good film. I know there are people who weren't super fond of I think they thought like the first half of the film was very good, but then the second half it wasn't as good or interesting. It's like things are kind of just, I guess, become more run of the mill, sort of like a biopics of sorts. Because this film takes place like between 1997 and 2000. Um, and you see like some victories early on, and then you see him like lose after a bit, and that's very interesting to see how he's like, because he's like he's like never lost. And there you go. There's another picture of Dwayne Johnson as Mark Carr, and this film was written and directed by Benny Safdie, who is one half of the Safdie brothers. Uh, Both of them made Good Times and Uncut Gems. And also another thing that people also weren't super fond of was sort of like the documentary kind of style this film takes. Um, I didn't mind it so much, but I've seen some stuff like that before. I know George Lucas implements documentary kind of style with how he makes his films. It's mostly like observational and everything, so it's like I think there is some camera movement, but it's not like some films where it's like handheld, you know. Um, and not that this necessarily has complete handheld or anything like that, but I mean there are some stuff that you can see it where it is sort of like a very documentary like that. While it didn't bother me, I can understand why some people wouldn't like that. But it isn't really shaky or anything. It's just like I think for some people it kind of seems like a bit of a gimmick. Uh, um, Whether that is very found, that's another story. I guess it's everyone's opinion. Being an A24 film, um, you know, this comes with stuff. Come on. So here's Mark and Dawn. And one thing I've seen people also weren't super fond of, like how Emily Blunt was, but from what I've been able to read, she played Dawn very much like how she was. So some people are like, oh, she was kind of an insufferable character at times. Like, well, if so, I guess it's sort of reflective of what was going on at the time. And there was a moment where she's like, when he was addicted to drugs, it's like he was very dependent and everything and loving, but then, he goes and gets clean. And that's another thing, it happens early enough in the film. It's like it's not even like halfway, but he gets clean. And then she's like, he's kind of like a different person to an extent. And she's not super happy. It's like, she's happy he's not addicted to drugs anymore because, obviously that could kill him. But, there's like some distance that she's feeling and she doesn't like that. And then there's a Baz with Mark. And there's Benny Safdie, and the opponent. I'm not an expert, so I don't recall every single name. I've only seen it the one time. So, anyway, this is sort of my impression. But yeah, there's a photo where if you've seen the trailer, you kind of know where this is from. But yeah. And in Japan, the Japanese national anthem on guitar. Mark Carr and Mark Coleman. And then Mark Coleman and Mark Carr right before the fight, waving at fans. And yeah, that's just back to that. And so, I guess here's here's the back, or the inside there, them like winning. And there's like a cage. That's a good movie. I know a lot of people, again, were fairly mixed on this, but the performances are seen as good. Apparently there's like a documentary that this was inspired by, which also would probably, that'd be why there's a documentary style to the film. But even then, there are people like, this was inspired by the documentary about Mark Carr's life. Like, we didn't necessarily need it to be shot that way. Again, it doesn't bother me. But, that's something, I guess, to be aware of if you ever decide to watch this. But, yeah, this is a very good performance by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Um, um, I know he's been nominated for various accolades, like a Golden Globe for actor in a drama. Um, he didn't win, but that's quite something considering, The Rock pretty much plays like, a tough guy in everything he does, really. And who with the occasional one-liner that's supposed to be humorous. Whether one laughs or chuckles at what's said, that's another thing. Sometimes humor like that in action films works. Sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, this is a very good film. This is the first time Benny Safdie directed a film without his brother. I know Josh Safdie made Marty Supreme. I haven't seen that, so I have to wait a while for that. But yeah, that's was not a bad film, really. And the behind the scenes making of featurette is pretty good. There's a 16 millimeter camera test, some deleted scenes, of course, 6 collectible postcards, as I showed. But yeah, to me, it's a good film, fine film, one that I think was definitely worth watching. It's 2 hours and 3 minutes, so not a long film, though. Again, there's various points in the film where it's very, there are some unpleasant things going on, not just because of the fighting, but because of, some other relationships between Mark and Dawn. Things aren't very good at various points. There are times that they are good, and at other times not. I remember again seeing stuff about Emily Blunt, how she was insufferable, but seems like for the character, the real person, at various points, it seems like that's how she kind of was. And that's not to say that, Mark Carr was always great either, but, their dynamic and their relationship was not the greatest, but, hey, that happens, in real life. So, yeah. Pretty good film. It's nice to see Dwayne Johnson expand beyond the typical kind of roles we all expect to see him in. Be cool to see him in more stuff like this. I saw somewhere that apparently Benny Safdie is going to do another film, and apparently he's cast Johnson again, so maybe it'll be also another movie where it'll be, different. That'd be cool. Hopefully one day, the Safdies will work with Adam Sandler again. I know when they were supposed to continue being like a director duo, they had another film planned, but that just kind of fell apart. And yeah, hopefully, I don't know. I thought their working relationship with Sandler was good on Uncut Gems. I think his Benny Safdie's working relationship with Johnson was very good, and yeah, very, very good. So that's really all I've got to say. Fine film. Yeah, A24, one of those companies that just really pumps out stuff like this. And that's a company that I've definitely seen films that I really like. The Lighthouse, obviously, Uncut Gems. Um, the Brutalist from last year, I liked. I like this film. um, Good Time, I believe, was from them too. Could be wrong. I believe it was. But yeah, excellent performances, especially by Johnson and Blunt. But everybody again did a good job. Um, yeah. So if you've seen it, do you like this? Do you dislike it? Are you somewhat mixed? Like things you like about it? Like, did you dislike the style that this was shot in? Did certain characters really annoy you? Um, yeah, it's yeah, it's, yeah. That's pretty much it. If you've seen it, give your thoughts if you want or not. But yeah, very good film. And so with that, I'll see you all next time. Hope you're all doing well. Please have a great day and a great weekend, and I'll see you all next time.